On today's show, New South Wales improves solar feed-in tariff rates, floating solar panels, wind and solar prices continue to fall. I have a really ironic story around renewables and coal, and well, this and a lot more on today's Renewable News. G'day, my name's Chris, and well, this is your show on everything that's happening in Australia and well, sometimes around the world, in our progress to clean and greener technologies for a renewable future. So, for returning subscribers, thanks very much for your support. I really do love these comments. It really encourages me along, so thank you so much. And for those new, welcome. Consider subscribing. It's free. Yeah. Lots of thumbs up today. I don't know what it's about. Anyway, now, there's more evidence that Australia can be powered by renewables by as early as 2030. Reported by Giles Parkinson from Renew Economy, he wrote how leading economist and climate change policy expert Professor Ross Garnett said in a recent lecture at Melbourne University how he has no doubt that intermittent renewables could meet 100% of Australia's electricity requirements by the 2030s. With high degrees of security and reliability at wholesale prices much lower than any experience in Australia in the last decade. Now, he went on to note that Australia used to be one of the world leaders in fossil fuel usage and exports, and the world has now progressed on to cleaner forms of power, and we've actually fallen back. But all is not a loss, because what's becoming more evident day by day is that, well, first of all, we're getting cheaper prices because of solar and wind. Now, take a look at these slides. Alright, so this first chart shows solar versus coal in terms of operating costs, and what I'm finding remarkable here is that, look, way back in 2010, it was about $220. Now, fast forward a few years, and 2019, already the solar PV total cost is less at $42 versus $45 for coal, and it's predicted that by 2025 solar will be about $30 versus coal at $47. Now this next chart is a bit hard to understand because, well, it's not very clear, but basically what you've got is on the left side the cost per megawatt hour, and along the bottom you've got time. Now this was based upon some estimations done back in 2011 by the Electrical Power Research Institute, that's that dark burgundy line with the dots, followed by Australian Energy Market Operator, that's the pink one with dots, followed by the European Photovoltaic Industry Association, and then the International Energy Agency. So what really stands out here is that by 2020, which is like just around the corner, they estimated that the cost per megawatt hour for solar was actually going to be about, well, as high as almost $450. But the reality, and you see right down there, that current PPA, that's the current price, which is just hovering above 50. Alright, so last chart now, this time wind. And once again, you've got estimations based upon 2011 modeling by those various different agencies. And look right down here. Wind coming very comfortably in around about less than $60 per megawatt hour. Second, that because of technological improvements, what we are seeing is that for each doubling in capacity, there has been a 24% reduction in the costs, and that this has been happening for the better part of 4 decades. And there is no reason to expect it would stop. Now, the result is downward pressure on prices, which is actually a really good segue into some research by Bloomberg NEF that actually shows that battery storage costs have fallen by more than 1/3 since the first half of 2018, down to as low as $187 per megawatt hour. Even wind and solar have fallen by like 10% or 18% respectively. Offshore wind is also down 24% over the last year. Now, this is indeed good news, and I'm really surprised by how wrong some of these experts have been at modeling their costs. So it actually proves that renewables are gonna eventually take over as the main, what they call it, baseload. Yeah. Alright, now there's an interactive electricity map. Now, do you know that one skeptic at work perhaps, or maybe a family member, who kind of doubts as to really how green we all are in Australia, in fact, anywhere in the world. Well, I found this really awesome interactive map that you can go have a play with. And well, hey, look, guys, girls, there's like links and more below. So if you want to actually go look at any of these articles that I'm discussing here today, feel free, jump on over to them, share them with friends, because like this one in particular is really awesome. I mean, check this out. So as you can see here, there's a world view, and you can either zoom in or zoom out, change from either show me production or show me consumption. Right now, unfortunately, Australia is unavailable for some reason, so apologies for that. So let's jump into the UK, where this last week, they've gone a whole week with actually no coal use whatsoever. Mind you, they've used 21% nuclear to get that, but nonetheless, you can see here that right now, they're actually producing, let's click on that. So Great Britain, they're currently producing some biomass, a little bit of wind, a little bit of solar, a little bit of hydro, and a lot of gas. And well, right up there, hello nuclear, yee. All right, let's look at this very green one. Look at this, oh my gosh, only 54 grams of CO2 equivalent per kilowatt hour. And that's, well, again, they're running a lot of nuclear, and as you can see, what the mix is there. And in terms of consumption, look at this, there's a little bit of energy being exported to Great Britain. New South Wales lifts solar feed-in tariffs. Okay, now I've got good news and I've got bad news. What do you want first? Okay, for those living in New South Wales, I'll give you the good. Your solar feed-in tariff rates will increase by about 2 cents per kilowatt hour. Yeah, and the bad news is that it's less than anticipated. Great. Now the new rate will kick in July 2019, and basically your electrical retailers will have to meet this minimum requirement. But looking around on the interwebs, it wasn't actually hard to find better rates than these. Except if you live in like WA. I mean, check this out. What the hell? You got two retailers and both have the same rates? That is just collusion. Collusion. Oh, goodness gracious. So, I've left a link below if you want to go find yourself a new electrical retailer. Now, in Australia, we're lucky enough to have like access to plenty of sunshine and vast amounts of land. But what about countries, say like the Netherlands, which has got a lot of bodies of water and very limited land? Well, have I got a set of kitchen knives for you? Wait, no, wrong show. So, what do you suppose if you actually were to put solar panels onto water? It sounds like a crazy mix, doesn't it? Where, you know, electricity, water, not a good combo at all. But nonetheless, more and more of these floating solar farms are being deployed across the world. And this last week it's been proven that the benefits of actually having a body of water close to the solar panels are actually really beneficial, because they have that cooling effect on the panels, and solar panels, just like everything in life, has that Goldilocks point where they don't want it too hot, too cold, they want it just right. And when they do that, solar panels work at the most efficient, and that is to say they generate the most amount of power. So researchers are now deploying these solar farms. They've got built-in motors that whenever the water picks up and storm water surges and seas maybe get rough or tides fluctuate and move them around a bit, these solar panels are clever enough to maneuver themselves to a place that, one, keeps them safe, or two, gets them in the right position to maximize its sun input. How clever are people? Now, my final story for today is a classic Australian one of irony. Now, what does coal and renewables have in common? Well, they both can produce electricity, sure, fine, yeah, but how about this? A coal museum that is run on renewable power. Located in Wonthaggi, this previously state-run coal mine was operational up until like 1968, and it now claims to be the only historical coal mine experience in, well, the Southern Hemisphere, and offers tourists a journey back in time to see what life was like working a coal mine in the 1900s. This old energy, new energy project has installed like 91 kilowatts of solar and 41 kilowatt hours of battery storage to pump like 100,000 litres of water a day, run the visitor centre and other community sites. Once again, I'm just astounded by how locals, communities are taking, energy and all the shenanigans that has been, dotting our political space, and we'll say, stuff it, we're just going to get on with this, and we're going to save ourselves a truckload of money in doing so. So I'm really, really happy that this is something that you and I can do. And you know what? Actually, I think I should get out there and do a story on this. Alright, that's it for today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, keep up these awesome comments, really do appreciate them. If you could do me a favor, leave me a comment down below so I can understand what you'd like to hear from and maybe give us some suggestions for stories. But otherwise, if you do nothing, subscribe, yeah, and stay green.